We return now to the military crackdown in Sudan today, the worst violence since the overthrow of the country's president in April. John Yang has the latest.
Amna, the violence today targeted the center of a months-long civilian movement that forced the downfall of the country's longtime ruler Omar al-Bashir. Dozens were killed as protesters dodged live gunfire. The main opposition group accused the military of committing a massacre. Protesters vowed to remain on the streets until the generals who replaced Bashir in April hand power to a civilian-led government. Opposition groups suspended talks with the military after today's crackdown. The U.S. Embassy in Khartoum urged Sudanese forces to stop the attacks and blame the military for the violence. For more on this, we're joined by Michael Georgy. He's a special Middle East correspondent for Reuters, and he joins us by Skype from Khartoum. Mr. Georgy, thanks for joining us. First of all, can you tell us, it's late Monday night where you are right now. What is the situation on the streets now?
Well, the streets are very quiet at the moment. But it started very violently today, and the situation was very tense. But at the moment, it's quiet.
What led to today's events? What triggered the events?
Well, I think the military council ruling the country lost patience. They've been in negotiations which have stalled over handing over power to civilian government. They wanted an arrangement where they can stay in charge, even if there's a civilian government, which was rejected by protesters.
And those talks are, you say they're stalled. And is that the main sticking point, is who's going to control the government in this interim period before elections?
Yes, the main problem is that the military wants to stay in control and basically dominate the politics while the opposition forms some kind of civilian government.
And as I understand it, both sides have agreed on elections in 3 years. It's a question of what happens between now and then?
Yes, that's right. The transition is the issue.
We've heard the opposition accuse the military of a massacre in this incident. What is the military's explanation?
The military has downplayed the violence. They've said they were attacking criminal elements, and they actually at one point announced that they would ready to resume talks, but obviously the opposition completely rejects this. So they do see it as a massacre. It's been the most violent attack since Bashir was toppled in April. And it's clearly the strongest signal that the military is not going to compromise, at least for now. Based
on the reports from the street and what you've been able to gather and your colleagues have been able to gather, how much truth or how likely is the military explanation that they weren't targeting the protesters, they were targeting criminal elements?
Well, it's clear that they broke up the sit-in, which has been a huge symbol of resistance. So there's no doubt their aim was to disperse the sit-in. However, some protesters have gone to other parts of Khartoum, barricaded streets with burning tires, etc. So that could be an issue, and it could escalate the crackdown if it doesn't end.
The military leaders have gotten some support from regional powers like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates. They've met with them, the leaders of the military who are now in power. What's at stake for those regional powers in Sudan?
The regional powers are concerned about political Islam, specifically the Muslim Brotherhood across the Middle East. Sudan, of course, has 30 years of rule by Islamists, so what they want is to root out the Islamists. That's pretty clear because after the coup, they promised billions of dollars. And there have been movements from General Hamidti and others, the head of the council, to Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Egypt. So it's obvious they've got full support from those countries, which will make it likely that the military, doesn't need to really make concessions at this point.
Michael Georgy of Reuters joining us from Khartoum. Thank you very much.
Thank you.